To tonight's Newsmaker now, where we go one-on-one with the people making headlines on the issues we're all talking about. And tonight, that is, of course, the 2024 race to the White House. It just got a little bit bigger in the last 24 hours with the latest Republican candidate jumping into the race. You see him there, Miami Mayor Suarez, who says the rest of the country needs to be more like Miami. The mayor joins us now. Hi, Mr. Mayor. Good to be with you. Thank you for joining the show.
It's good to be with you as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
So in the last 24 hours, I've watched a lot of interviews you've done where you've talked about being a unifier. You think you have a role and a position in this race, a lane that nobody else is filling right now. Let me ask you this. No mayor has ever gone on from that position directly to become president. Help people understand why you think you have the qualifications for the position of presidency.
The reason why is because I have a track record of success where I've lowered taxes, which has created tremendous economic growth in my city. I've kept people safe, which is a fundamental right and what people are seeking in American cities, where 85% of the people in America live and 91% of the GDP of this country is produced. And we had the lowest per capita rate, homicide rate, since 1964 last year. This year, we're 40% below that number by increasing funding for our police, not decreasing funding for police like we saw across America. And the third thing is I've leaned into this opportunity, this generational opportunity of prosperity by leaning into what is an inflection point, in my opinion, from the industrial economy to the increasingly digital economy. We positioned our city, and we need to position our country, frankly, for that moment. And I don't think the candidates are really talking about that. And I'm not sure how many of them actually understand how to position our country for the maximum amount of prosperity. That's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the things that we can agree on, which is safety and security for all of our citizens, prosperity for ourselves and our children, and trying to seek tomorrows that are better than our yesterdays. We spend 80% of the time arguing over the 20% of things that we don't agree on.
I hear you framing sort of this new generation argument for yourself. There is somebody else in this race, and we showed that big board of people, who is also trying to position himself as part of the new generation, and that is somebody you know, your state's governor, who has really dug in on this fight with Florida's biggest employer, Disney, or one of the biggest tourism attractions, of course, in the state. Is Governor DeSantis wrong to try to do battle with Disney, in your view?
I think he's wrong. You know, when he began this fight, I think he had a good argument, which was that, you know, we don't necessarily want the school system or government generally telling parents, you know, how to teach their small children, you know, a K through third grade sexuality. I think that's a winning argument. I think he should have stopped there and not made it personal. I think the fact that he made it personal by threatening to, for example, put a jail next to Disney, by saying that he was going to repeal Disney's tax exempt status. Now what you do is you're two C-suite executives that are going at it, and it costs, you know, first of all, it costs his state potentially thousands of jobs, billions of dollars of investment, and then you have 80,000 employees in your state that are worried. Are they going to have a job? Are they going to have a place to work? Many of them work paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, you can't convert political battles into personal battles. And I think the problem here is that, like our current president, you know, our current governor hasn't spent that much time in the private sector, and maybe doesn't have such a tether to the private sector, or understand how the private sector works.
You alluded to what the foundation of that sort of initial feud, if you will, was, and that was this back and forth over the governor's so-called Don't Say Gay law, which, as you know, has made headlines around the country. You've done things like sign an ordinance recognizing LGBTQ plus people's contributions to Miami. You have publicly previously pledged your support for Pride Month. So let me ask you this. Do you support the expansion of the Don't Say Gay law to all grades? That is a question on the table in your state.
Yeah, I think that's excessive. I think we need to make sure that, you know, young adults do get sex education training. I do think it shouldn't be indoctrination, and I think that's where the debate is. I think it should be, you know, sex education training, because we need to make sure that our children can grow up in an environment where they can make good choices. But I don't think it should be indoctrination, and I think that's where there can be a debate. But listen, Miami's a very inclusive city. We're a city that is very tolerant. We want everyone to feel comfortable and confident being in our city, and it's something, that diversity of our city is a strength for us.
The Miami Herald reports you're under investigation for allegations of taking payments from a developer to help fast-track this big, expensive real estate project. You've been asked about this. I know you have denied wrongdoing. So can you clearly explain why you were paid $10,000 a month from that developer's subsidiary?
Sure. I was paid to help them raise capital, which is something that I've been very clear about from day one. That's the job that I do. It has nothing to do with my role as mayor of the city of Miami. I've been a public official for 13 years. I've been a working public official the entire time. I've never had an ethics issue. I've never had a scandal in my entirety of my career. And a couple of weeks before, it just so happens that the Miami Herald does this targeted hit job on me to try to discredit me before I run for president. And the reason why is because I am the biggest threat to the Democratic Party. I'm a young, Hispanic, conservative from a big city. And that is the kryptonite to the Democrats because, of course, they would love it nothing more than not to lose Hispanics, which they're losing because they call them Latinx and say that they're as unique as San Antonio tacos. They don't want to lose young voters because they won young voters by 26 points in the last presidential election. And, of course, they want to make sure that they don't lose things like suburban women.
I hear you say that, obviously, you feel that your ethics record is important to you. I assume transparency is as well?
Of course,
so
absolutely.
Will you commit
important
to disclosing your client list?
You know, I'll commit to doing what all the presidential candidates do, which is to transparently showing my tax returns, which I believe will show pretty much everyone who pays me. So I think that is the equivalency, yes.
Okay, well, let me just, because there is a level of scrutiny that comes, as you know, with running for president that is different for, you know, other levels of government here. Is that then, yes, you will commit to disclosing your list of clients who you work for outside of your role as mayor?
Well, I'll tell you this. The federal disclosures are extremely comprehensive. Any income that is over $5,000 of gross income has to be disclosed. So it basically discloses any single source of income. Right. So, yes, I have a federal obligation, just like every candidate does, to disclose every single source of income over what is a very, very small threshold of $5,000.
I hear you.
So, yes,
as you well know, Donald Trump never disclosed his taxes. So it's a question. I appreciate you answering it, that you will do that. So that's, you know, news. I have two more quick questions for you. One, I know you've taken a lot of questions on former President Trump. I know that. But my question for you is about, you obviously sort of now famously say that you didn't support him, you didn't vote for him in either of the last two elections, but you do say that you would back him now as your party's nominee if he ends up as the nominee. That is an about face. Is that about face now about getting on the debate stage in August?
No, it's not an about face. It's about it is about a worry of Joe Biden's America. And I've been very clear about this. Joe Biden's America is an America that I am worried for my children to grow up. It's an America where the poor are getting poorer through increased interest rates and inflation. It's an America that is getting weaker in the world through a posture of weakness. We are inviting aggression from our enemies. And it is an America where, in my lifetime, it's possible that China may have a greater GDP than us and may become the lone superpower. That is not the kind of country that I want to see. And what I've seen in the last 2 years frightens me to no end as a parent. And that's the reason why I said that I would support the former president if he were the nominee against Joe Biden. But of course, I'm running to be the nominee. That's why there is some level of frustration sometimes when I want to change the conversation to talking about my candidacy for presidency.
Before I let you go on that topic, your candidacy for president, I get it. You are running for president here, but I have to ask, because your name has been floated for this, would you consider perhaps taking on a vice presidential nomination if somebody offers it?
You know, it is a little ironic on the second day of my candidacy for president to be asked that question. But I will say,
Kellyanne Conway has floated your name. That is not a surprise to you. She has said you should be on a short list for a VP nomination for Donald Trump. Would you accept something like that?
Listen, it's not the first time that someone has suggested me to be a VP for one of the candidates. I think it's obviously flattering to be considered at that level. But the truth is that I'm running for president because I think I'm different. I think I'm unique, and I think I have something special to offer the American people. And I think I can inspire them to choose me over the other options.
Mayor Francis Suarez of Miami. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being on the show. I am sure we'll talk again in the weeks and months to come. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.